Hello and welcome to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about fulfilling your dreams and taking it to the next level. I'm so excited because it's a new year, 2023. It's been a while since we dropped the last pod, and we have all four of us together online all at the same time. If you're tuning in for the very first time or you've been a regular in the past seasons, we've had a great run at Big League Dreaming, the podcast. It's a dad and his three sons, kind of not only reliving their glory days, we talk a little bit about the old times, but we're big baseball enthusiasts and we follow our favorite teams. It's hard to believe, though, that a dad and his three sons would have four different favorite teams. And that's the truth with the Gonzalez family. I'm John Gonzalez. I'm the dad, and the oldest is Zak Gonzalez. Say hi, Zak.
Hey, hey.
There he is. He is a Seattle Mariners fan. Son number two is Ty Gonzalez. Say hi, Ty.
Go Mets, go Mets, go Mets, go Mets.
He is the Mets fan. And son number three, only in birth order, not in favoritism at all, is Zane Gonzalez. How you doing, Zane?
How we doing? Hanging in there.
Hanging in there is right. Zane is the Red Sox fan. And we were talking about this right before we came on the air that, yeah, our teams aren't doing too good, right, Zane? Red Sox,
No.
Tigers.
No, the Red Sox won't sign anybody.
No, Tigers won't sign anybody. I'm a lifelong Tigers fan. And we should tell people real quick how we came up with three different favorite affiliates. Zak, tell your story why you're a Mariners fan. Real quick.
Yeah, I mean, Griffey was my guy as a kid. You would take me to Tiger Stadium and sign my ball. I think I was 8, and that's all she wrote. Tigers were bad, Mariners were good back in the 90s. So there you go.
Tigers are still bad, and the Mariners are good again. So, and Ty, why don't you give us your Mets story?
Kind of the same, similar story. Piazza, Mike Piazza was my favorite player, and I was a catcher growing up, so I idolized him, and I just became a Mets fan that way when I was really little. And Mets were bad, and so were the Tigers. So it was kind of similar. Just that was my favorite player.
Well, the Mets are in the news a lot the last couple of years, and this offseason has been all about the Mets, and we'll talk more about that a little later in the podcast. Zane, and how did you become a Red Sox fan? Because you originally were a Cubs fan.
Yeah, I mean, so my godmother was living out in Boston when I was really little, and she would always send Red Sox stuff. So then that's kind of just how I got into it.
Nothing to do with Big Papi?
No.
You love Big Papi, though.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were a Twins fan at one point, Zane.
Sure.
I don't remember Zane ever being a Twins fan.
I remember you being a Cubs fan because you loved Sammy Sosa.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa era was just pretty crazy because you guys were just real little, you know?
Yeah.
When that was all happening.
Yeah, that's true.
And Sammy had, I mean, let's just face it. I mean, you can judge him how you want today, but when that was all happening, it was pretty exciting for baseball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a home run like at least once a game.
Yeah. Well, now we know why, but
yeah.
But I mean, McGwire too, with his rumors of his stuff going on. I remember, I've talked about this before, of going to watch him at batting practice and just being in awe. You know,
yeah,
they can just hit those home runs repeatedly. So,
well, you can go to a Cubs Cardinals game at Wrigley and see 5 or 6 home runs all hitting into the road in one game.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So, well, we just want to get together as a family, talk a little baseball. It's been like I said a few minutes ago, it's been a crazy off season for a few of our clubs. Zane, you're right. Your team and my team. I mean, I don't know what the Tigers are doing. I guess I ran into this guy the other day at the store, and I'm like, he had a Tigers shirt on. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, Miguel Cabrera. He's like, yeah, once we get rid of Miguel Cabrera, we can sign some players. We can spend some money.
It's his last year. That's what I heard. That's what you told me.
It's his last year. Yeah. And I think, you know, we're going to make some of our projections for the new year, some of our predictions. And I think that's going to be mine. It'll be kind of his swan song. I think the Tigers are going to just ride that out, you know, and just kind of play it up every town he goes to. His final game here, his final game there. And I think they're going to live off of that this year. Zach, what would you think about that? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I mean, he wants to do his curtain call or whatever. What do they call it? His Jeter run. Yeah. Same thing Jeter did. Papi, Pujols, all those guys. He wants his time to shine too.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, right? I mean,
triple crown winner,
incredible career, fan favorite here in Detroit. Been following him since he was with the Marlins in that very first World Series that he helped them win. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and there's no question about it. Right, the Red Sox, I don't know, Zane, how are they looking for they signed no one, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be good unless they re-sign Devers and lock him up, and then. But it's not looking good because they haven't re-signed Devers yet. So then, like, all the talks are like they're just going to trade him at the trade deadline.
Yeah. And where does Xander go?
He went to
San
the
Diego.
Padres. Yeah, San Diego Padres.
Which is going to make the Padres tough
Yeah.
this year. I mean, they're gonna come back stronger than ever, and kind of feed off of beating the Dodgers there in the playoffs in 2022. And I could see the Dodgers kind of falling off a little bit. Speaking of next year, Zach, how are your Mariners looking in the offseason? Have they made a lot of big moves?
Haven't made any big moves. They lost Haniger to free agency, and they weren't sure if they're going to be able to re-sign him, which is one of their big bets in the outfield. So they did make a trade for Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays, who's a big offensive player from Toronto. So we're excited to have him in the outfield every day with Julio. He has a little bit more offense than Haniger, but he's going to play a lot more than Haniger because Haniger was, you never know if he was going to be injured or what. That was their biggest trade, and then they did make another trade where they got Colton Wong from the Brewers.
Oh yeah.
So they lost Adam Frazier to free agency, who was their second baseman. So now Colton Wong will be their everyday second baseman. Like more than likely an upgrade there at second base, considering the terrible year Frazier had. But the Mariners just don't really participate in free agency. Unfortunately, that's kind of what their model has been over the years, where they don't really spend a bunch of money and sign players to long-term deals. They rather draft, develop, and trade. That's just what they do. So it's hard to see all these teams keep all their prospects, keep all their players, and then bring in whoever it is, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, and then we have to give up minor league guys or everyday major league players just to get a Teoscar or a Colton Wong.
Yeah. Well, kind of like they follow the same model as the Mets, right? The Mets do the same thing, right, Ty? I mean, they just develop players. They don't make any trades. They don't sign any big names.
All they do is spend money. That's all they do. That's all they're known for, is spending tons of money on all these players. Like they got Linder. I thought that would be like the last big deal they do. And then they sign Verlander, and then a pitcher from Japan. I've never even heard of that guy. Like 5 years, 120 million or something like that.
Kodai Senga, he's nasty. He has a split finger that he calls a ghost changeup. What does he call it? A ghost something.
Oh yeah, I think I did read that. He calls it something weird.
Yeah,
so they got him.
It's a split finger. He's high 90s. He's supposed to be really, really good.
Well, that's good. They got him, and then Correa. Maybe you were saying maybe still.
Yeah, I was just reading up on that today. I mean, Anthony DeComo from MLB.com was writing about it, that there's still questions about Carlos's right ankle, which he hurt in that minor league game a few years ago, and that's what stopped the Giants from pulling off that deal. And but right away, obviously Boris got him another deal with the Mets because they were interested in the whole thing. But as of today, as of January 2nd, the deal's still not done. I think they're trying to rework the deal depending on his health. But let's face it, if it doesn't get done for the Mets, I don't know. I think the Mets almost have to sign him at some point, right?
They probably will. They're probably just dragging it on longer than they have to. I'm sure they will. I mean, it's already sounded like it was a done deal, so I'm pretty sure they will.
Will Mets fans be upset if they don't get him?
I honestly don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. That's a lot of money over what, like 10 years or something?
Yeah.
That's a big commitment, and they just did that with Lindor. And I mean, having Lindor and Correa is like, do you like really need that? I don't know. I was kind of surprised when they were going for Correa. I was like, you just got Lindor.
Well, they'll move him to third base. I think it's a 12-year deal for $315 million, which was, I think the Giants deal was for 13 years and 340. But I think it'll still get done for that 12-year deal. It just might be, he's got to have so many days off the injury list. It'll be kind of like messed up like that. But I'm kind of curious, Zane, what do you think? You being the pitching coach, we didn't talk about what we do in our day jobs, but you are a pitching coach and recruiting coordinator at a D or at NAIA school in South Bend, Indiana, IUSB. As a pitcher and a pitcher's health, I mean, pitchers only has so much longevity, right? Verlander's just this odd freak of nature, right? I mean, is he going to keep producing at his age?
I mean, I think he'll be fine. Well, how long is his deal?
I think it's a 2-year deal, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 years, he'll definitely be fine. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in that second year he starts to teeter off a little bit. But I mean, he's done such a good job of keeping up with, the times and how everything's changed and the way to prepare for seasons. So on that side of everything, I think he'll be fine for at least 2 years.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Zach, I mean, you being also a pitching coach, a former pitching coach, and a pitcher yourself, probably think the same thing, right? I mean, the way these pitchers are taking care of themselves is so different than it was 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's tough to say. You try to compare him with other pitchers that were like him. So I think of Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan pitched for a long time. Yeah, it's so weird. But Scherzer's old too, and he's just as effective. I think all the sports medicine they have now, and like you said, the guys are eating the right stuff. Like their pitchers and players in general are going to play a little bit longer, I think, just because of that right there.
I just hope Verlander isn't like comes to the Mets and just becomes kind of like subpar, like mediocre, kind of like how Pedro and Johan were. They were like big, huge names, and then they get to New York and something happens there. They just kind of are okay. I just hope it's not like that.
Well, I think Verlander will be fine only because he's in New York. It's where he wants to be. It's the limelight, right? It's rather than having 25 reporters come up to him after the game, it's 125, right? It's the limelight. It's you're on a big stage there. Not that Houston isn't a big stage and you're in the World Series, winning the World Series. It's just a whole different mentality in New York, and I think he lives for that. The only thing that will stop him would be an injury, I think, and that's like any player, right? It's going to happen to any player. Well, on this show, folks, again, if you're just tuning in, which is Big League Dreaming, the podcast, Dad and his 3 sons, just talking baseball. We often, though, have someone that we interview, right, guys? We'll bring in a coach, a player, a broadcaster to interview them about how they achieved their dreams. And this one's kind of just starting off the year talking about our favorite teams. Zach, what are the types of players would you like to see us, or the types of interviews that you'd like to see in 2023?
Dude, I don't know. I love
right?
I love getting people from like I don't know, like all over the spectrum. Mm-hmm. So like I'd like to get a groundskeeper, a woman in sports, like different types of people that work in baseball that people don't really think about as being like a baseball job. Right.
I mean, you had one of those jobs, right?
Yep. Sure did. Many years. Still do, I guess, if you could count the scoreboard.
You're doing a scoreboard for the Charlotte Knights, right?
Yep.
Awesome. And then Ty, same thing. Just interesting people.
Yeah, we should get someone different this season. I think we should get someone like that does the hot dogs or something, walking up and down all those steep stairs. Or we should track down a Wrigley hot dog guy and interview him or something, or a beer guy. I'm sure they have tons of good stories.
Love it. A little research. I can help you on the research. I'll just go to Wrigley Field for a weekend. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Just interview a hot dog guy there or something.
Zane, how about you? More stadiums, maybe?
I don't know. I feel like it'd be kind of interesting to get like an umpire or something, like a retired umpire would be pretty cool to kind of hear their side of everything, because people don't really know that whole side of the MLB and what goes into it and all the travel they do as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe like something different would be like the guy that plays the music, like the organ player at like a stadium or something would be pretty fun.
Yeah, those would both be great interviews. I know that, like you guys said, there's so many people that are involved with the game of baseball that are not playing on the field, front office, ticket takers,
Mascot.
mascot. Yeah, I mean, the people taking your money, or in the parking lots. I mean, it's such a big business, but I love it too. I love being able to, there's nothing to me. I know we're in the middle of wrapping up football season and all the bowl games and everything, but we're baseball fans because we love the grind, right? It's a long season. I mean, football is just once a week. Hockey, basketball, I mean, they all have different schedules, limited schedules. I mean, baseball is a grind. It's a season from spring training to the fall classic, and it's a game of endurance, right? It's not just like and even if you start slow, you might have a chance to still win at the end. I mean, there's still a chance.
Just like the Lions still have a chance.
Oh my gosh, I still can't believe that game just got moved to prime time, by the way, next week.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, did it really?
Yeah, it's prime time against the Packers.
Oh my.
You guys are all mad that I'm all of a sudden a Lions fan, right?
Yeah, Vikings fan, Cowboys fan. Now you like the Lions.
I've switched my allegiances a few times, yes, but
he'll always be a Cowboys fan if they're good.
I'll always be a Cowboys fan.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's wrap this things up. Any predictions for your favorite teams? I guess we'll start with Zane since we started with Zach the last few times. Any predictions for how your team's going to do this year, record-wise?
They won't make the playoffs. Guaranteed.
Red Sox not making the playoffs.
Guarantee they don't make the playoffs and they fire Bloom before the season's done.
All right. I like that. Good prediction. Ty, Mets going all the way, right? This is the year.
This better be the year. I hope it's the year. The division's tough though. They're in a tough division. I mean, Phillies are making signings too. Braves are really good. So hopefully they can either win the division or get in with the wild card and make a little run, but that's a tough division.
I think you could argue that the American League East and the National League East are probably the two toughest divisions in baseball.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, no question about it. All right, Zach, prediction for your Mariners. I mean, they got in the playoffs last year. You were there. You got to go to the games.
Yeah, they got 90 wins the last 2 years. I think they'll be right about there. 90 wins again next season. They haven't made any big additions to grow that number in my mind. They're still not better than the Astros, so I think the Astros will win the West again. I am worried about the Rangers. They went and signed DeGrom. They went and signed Evaldi. So they'll be better. The Angels will be better. The A's are worse than the Tigers. So we'll see. I mean, the Mariners have a really good their style of play does really good in the postseason. So all they got to do is just get in, and then I think they're capable of making a run.
I think one thing we didn't talk about, I know I sent you guys the article, was the balanced schedule this year. The 2023 schedule for Major League Baseball is a little more balanced. So you're not playing all those divisional teams like you were, the last previous years, and especially last year, right? And limited travel. This year's going to be different. I think it's going to be a little more balanced, and you're going to see some of those records, change. How that's going to affect those teams in the East, I don't know. But it should make things a little more balanced there. For me, the Tigers, they finished last year 66-96.
Wow. That's rough.
They're going to go for 100 losses this year.
I think they could go for 100 losses. But I don't know. I think, like I said earlier in the podcast, I think they're going to kind of ride and they kind of like look away. You're not going to see them losing games. It's going to be all about Miguel Cabrera, right? And I think it's going to be like that and the whole season long. And people are going to say like, hey, he hit 10 home runs this year, set another record, right? It's going to be following him every step of the way in his season. So I think, but if the Tigers don't get production from some of the young people that they need to, like Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson,
Clemens
what's that?
and Clemens.
And Clemens, right? Right. I don't know. I mean, Spencer Torkelson, I don't know if he makes the team out of spring training. I mean,
Really?
I don't
He was
know
back
if
on it at the end of the year, wasn't he?
he was back on the team, but I don't know. The jury's still out for me on him. But I think they'll be slightly better than last year. Not much. So maybe close to 70 wins. That's not much of an improvement.
Basically,
Oh, Zach, you wanted to see my Christmas present, didn't you?
Yes.
I'm gonna go
yeah.
get it. I'm gonna go get it. See if you guys can predict what it is.
Well, I already know what
We already know.
You
Zach's
told me
the
what
only
it
one that
was.
doesn't.
Zach, you got to make a prediction now. What is he going to bring back?
He already told me what he was going to bring back.
Yeah, but what's on it though?
Oh, that's what I'm guessing. What is on it?
Yeah. What's on it?
Can you guess? Can you guess? What did you tell him, Ty?
We know what me and Zane know what it is, and then he said he told me what it is. I said, yeah, but what's on it? He didn't make a guess.
Who did you get it from?
My in-laws, your grandparents.
Is it Central Michigan University logo?
That would make sense since I
That's
am
pretty good.
Yeah, that's
pretty good guess.
that would
Good
make
guess. Good
sense.
guess.
Good guess. Give you one more guess.
One more guess. Is it a South Bend Cubs logo?
Whoa. No.
One more
is.
guess.
Yes.
We've been talking about it. One more guess.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it.
This
We've
whole
been
episode.
talking about it. Yes.
Lions?
Whoa.
That would actually make sense too. But no, this is what I got for Christmas.
A Miguel Cabrera backpack?
Yeah.
Open
Something
last.
a sixth grader would wear?
My
Open
big
last.
gift of Christmas. I'm supposed to take it to work with me too tomorrow.
Every
Yeah,
day.
you said you were taking it every day.
Every day.
You won't do it.
I'll take a picture with it tomorrow at school.
Oh my gosh. That's classic.
On that note, folks, thanks again for tuning in to Big League Dreaming, the podcast. We have fun. We will drop a podcast a little sooner than later this time around. Please send us an email. Let us know if you have a recommendation for a guest. Maybe you want to be a guest. You're tuning in going like, you know what? I have a cool story about baseball. I'm in the baseball world. I'd love to share my story. We would love to hear from you. Just email us at Big League Dreaming. Is right? Ties up the email address.
Yep, Big League Dreaming the podcast, is it?
I think it's Big League
Just
Dreaming.
Big League Dreaming. Big League Dreaming at Gmail. Yeah, that's what it is.
Where can people find this episode and so many others, Ty?
YouTube, of course, Big League Dreaming the podcast. You can also follow us on TikTok at BLD Pod and on Twitter at BLD Pod. That's at BLDPOD. Connect with us.
All right. Take care, everyone. Happy New Year.
See ya.
Bye.